Hey guys, what is up? On December 6th, I posted a video. Stay toasty in your RV when it's cold. Never seen before tips. You folks who watched this video, I'm sure hope that you implemented a lot of the things that I showed you in that video, because if you did, what we're going through right now, you probably are in pretty good shape. But since we've been going through this recent cold snap that has dived down deep into Texas and New Mexico and all the Central Plains, there's some other things that I want to bring up right now. This is a live broadcast that I'm sure a lot of you will find helpful. Details coming up on RV Straight. Right now we're down here in RGV in our winter spot, and even us being 8 miles away from the Mexican border, we're experiencing record temps, just like you guys are, but not near as cold as a lot of you are experiencing. Some of you are experiencing single-digit temps, freezing rain, ice, snow, and all that. So I really felt a need to give you a few more tips that may be able to help you guys get through this freak storm. And this is why I recommend so often in almost all of my videos to be proactive and get your coach ready and have it ready so that when these kind of events happen, you're ready. You're ready to go. You're not caught unawares and, oh my God, what do I do now? But because we are experiencing this freak storm, I want to make sure you guys have as much information that you possibly can have to help you get through this. So with what I'm going to show you today and the video that I posted 6 weeks ago, you guys should be pretty set to go. So let's get started. Number one, when you see a cold snap or one of these kind of events coming, you see it in the forecast. They give you usually days or a week in advance. It's coming. The first thing you do is fill up your propane tanks. Make sure they are full. Also, if you have a gas coach, if you have a motorhome, or a diesel pusher for that matter, make sure that you have topped off your fuel tank. I'll get into more of that later. Number two, I want to take the scenario if you are parked in a campground. You have reservations and you're parked in a campground. Being in a campground, you're going to be hooked up to city water. We're thinking boondocking now. We have to be self-contained. We cannot rely on outside water. So you fill your fresh water tank. And if the temperatures are going to drop to about 28 degrees or lower for several hours, like 10, 12 hours or more, or several days, the first thing you want to do is disconnect your water. And I mean everything. Your regulator, your hoses, your water softener, your Camco blue filter, your inline blue filter, whatever water system you have outside, you want to disconnect that, drain all the water out of it, and store it. Because from this point forward, when we have a front like this coming in, this kind of an event, you need to start thinking boondocking. We need to get self-contained and not be relying on city water and possibly not electricity. The reason you want to get all of your water disconnected, drained, and stored away is because the campground that you're in, they're going to turn that water off. They're going to turn the whole campground water off. They don't want their pipes freezing either. Now, if you happen to be in your own RV site or you're at a location where you can control the water, you can put heat sleeves and all that type of stuff on your hoses, wrap all your filters, your water softener. You can do all that, but I'm betting that 95% of you are not equipped to do that type of thing. This thing just sprung up. We have these cold, deep temperatures are going to be lasting for days and days, and that campground is going to shut that water off. So disconnect all of your water. If you don't, your hoses are going to freeze. They're going to split. Your regulator, if it gets below freezing, 9 times out of 10, a frozen regulator will be ruined and you'll have to replace it. So it's just best just to put it all away. If you have heated bays and you're running your furnace, the furnace will keep your bays warm and you will not have to worry about your black tanks and your fresh water tank freezing. Now for us and many others, we do not have heated bays and we have 2 wet bays. You can see my main wet bay right here. And here's the other one for my half bath. So I have 2 bays with tanks, black tanks in both, a main water tank and all that. and I don't have a furnace to keep them warm. Now what you can see here is in my big wet bay, I put a round metal utility lamp with a 100-watt bulb. I clamp that up in the back there, you can see it there. I run the cord out the bottom, and I run an extension cord over to that, and that will keep my bay at 51 degrees. In my half bath bay, you can see I have a smaller version. This is a 5.5-inch metal utility lamp, also with a 100-watt bulb, and that keeps everything warm in there also. And I just plug that right in to my inverter. Now, last night it got down to 24 degrees here, and I have been as cold as 17 degrees. And with these two lamps, it will keep my bays at 51 degrees. How do I know that? Well, in each one of those bays, I have a Bluetooth sensor. I have one in the large bay and one in my half bath bay. And you can see right here, I have a monitor in the kitchen that monitors the temperature of both of those bays. I can just glance over at my monitor and I can see exactly the temperature of what's going on inside those bays. So let's just say something happens to one of those bulbs, it burns out or whatever, and I'm in the coach and I see that temperature dropping down 45, 42, 41. I know automatically that bulb has gone out. I go outside, I replace the bulb, and that'll bring it back up to 51 degrees. Now, I have done a lot of other things to insulate that wet bay. And again, that video that I just told you about in the very beginning, I'll put a link to it later. But I showed you in that video all the work that I did in there to insulate and keep that wet bay nice and warm. So if you want the details to that, you can watch that video again. But those lamps are a great way to keep your wet bays warm when you do not have heated bays from your furnace. The next thing you do is not only fill your water tank, your fresh water tank, but you drain all your blacks. We may be going through this for days and days and days, right? So we want to start off with empty tanks and fill our freshwater tank. Now let's talk a little bit about electrical power. So again, you're in a campground, you're plugged in, right? If rain and sleet and ice and snow begins to hit your area and all around you, power lines begin to break, tree branches fall on lines, or what have you. Maybe the demand for electric is, everybody's demanding electric. What these power companies are going to do is you're going to end up experiencing blackouts. And now you not only don't have water because the campground turned off the water, but now you don't have power. Well, we've taken care of the water because now we have water in the fresh tank. But the electrical is what we need to deal with now. If you are running electric heaters like Joni and I do, we do not use our propane furnace, hardly ever. We keep our coach warm with electric heaters. But if we lose power, if a blackout comes, well, now we don't have electricity to run our electric floor heaters. That means you need a backup plan. And that backup plan to heat your coach is going to be your propane furnace. And I know some of you already use your propane furnace, and that's fine. But I'm trying to address those who don't have propane, don't use propane, they ran out of propane, whatever, and you're using your electric heaters, and now you don't have electricity. Just stay with me here and hear me out. So think about this. You're in your RV, and the power starts to go out. And now you have no city power coming in to the coach. So that means you cannot use your electric furnaces anymore, and now you're forced to use your propane furnaces. That's why I said in the beginning to make sure your propane tanks are full to start with. Okay, so now we're using our propane furnace, and we don't have electricity coming in. Your propane furnace is going to operate off of your batteries. It's DC. It runs off of DC power. And generally speaking, a propane furnace will draw about 9.5 amps or so. So that means at drawing 9.5 amps, and you run that for 10 hours, you're going to be using about 95 amps of power from your batteries. So stick with me here. This is going to give you just an example because everybody's battery bay is going to be set up different. So I'm going to kind of narrow this down to a common denominator that will kind of be easy to explain. So let's say you have two 6-volt golf cart batteries and they're wired together. Now you have one big giant 12-volt battery to draw from and power your furnace. And again, your furnace is drawing 9.5 amps. So what's going to happen is you're going to start drawing down the power of your batteries. And you do not want to bring your batteries down below half. You really only have 115 to use. You're running your furnace and it's drawing down the batteries. Now what are you going to do? Well, one way to approach it is, if you had clear skies and you have sun, you could use solar to recharge those batteries. It will be slow, but it will recharge those batteries. Joni and I, we have a 240 watt portable solar panel, but you know, for most of you folks, you're just not prepared for that. I mean, we've got one panel. There are a lot of rigs out there that have solar, but the majority who are caught in a freak storm like this, they're not prepared with solar to charge and all that type of stuff. So we have to go to the second option. And the second option is your generator. Your generator is a good option. That's what you have it for. So if you have no power because of blackouts and you've been running your propane furnace, pulling down your, the drawing down on your batteries, you start up your generator. So let's go into this generator thing just a tad deeper, okay? Once you start your generator, now you're bringing full power back to the coach. So now you can turn on your electric floor heaters again, and it's automatically going to be starting to charge the batteries again. Well, it'll be automatically if you have an auto transfer switch. Our coach does. So when we go and start the generator, it automatically switches over from shore power to generator power. Now, some of you may not have an auto transfer switch. There are several coaches and RVs out there that do not have that. You have your generator and you have your shore power plug that you plug into the pedestal, but that pedestal's not working anymore. We have a blackout. Some generators you have to manually plug them in. So in the event that you have that kind of generator and you're experiencing a blackout, what you do is you just unplug your power cord to the pedestal where you normally get shore power. Just unplug that, and if you want, just wind it up and put it back. And usually in that same electrical bay area or somewhere near maybe the generator, there'll be a designated outlet where you plug your generator in, okay? So if you have an automatic transfer switch, you can just start up the generator and it'll automatically switch and bring power to the coach and charge your batteries. If you don't have an automatic transfer switch, pull the pedestal plug, plug the generator into its designated plug, and then start the generator. Now, a quick tip about starting your generator. It's always best, before you switch to generator power, to turn all the heavy loads, and for me, I turn all the loads off inside the coach. Whatever I'm running in the coach, I turn them all off. Then I go and I turn on the generator, because I do not want any surge of power coming in and possibly hurting anything in the coach. So it's a good idea to unplug everything, start the generator, and then let the generator warm up for about 5 minutes. Let it get up to a steady RPM. It's running smoothly now. And now you can come back into the coach and start turning things back on. When you start up that generator, by design, they are made to where when they first come on, there's about a 20-30 second delay in there. As soon as you start that generator up, don't expect immediate power. It takes about 20 or 30 seconds for it to start delivering power to the RV. So let's just say that you took your batteries down to the 50% mark. You've been using them all night. You wake up in the morning, you've been running your propane furnace and your refrigerator or what have you. Boy, your batteries are at 50% now. You start up the generator. It's going to take many, many, many hours to bring those batteries back up to full charge. So it would be best if you know that you're going to be in this for the long haul. I mean, the forecast is showing days and days of below freezing temperatures, single digits and so on. Come up with a plan on the schedule of recharging you need to do to keep your batteries topped off. So it may be good for you to bring your batteries at 70% and then turn on the generator and start to recharge them again. And you'll also be bringing power into the coach. You'll be able to run your floor heaters, like I said before. But the deeper you drain into those batteries, the longer it's going to take to recharge them. That's why I say over and over again, get your manuals, learn your coach. Every RV is going to have its own personality. Every battery bay is going to be set up different. Some will have 6 batteries, some will have 1, some will have 2, some are deep cell, some are not. So you're going to have to know your personality of your coach's battery bay, so you'll know how far to bring it down before you have to start recharging them, so you don't bring them below 50%, and so you don't have to wait hours and hours before they're good again. So just keep that in mind and start paying attention to how that all works with your RV. Another thing about the motorhome, I mentioned this just earlier in the very beginning, whether it's a diesel pusher or a gas coach, I said to make sure the fuel is, you have lots of fuel. Fill up the tank. And the reason is that when you start running your generator and powering some of these minimal things, you're going to be running about a half a load on that generator, maybe a little bit more. But your generator is going to be drinking probably about a half to 3/4 of a gallon of fuel an hour. So that's why you want plenty of fuel to take you through the long haul if you're going to be doing this for several days. Once that fuel tank gets down to a 1/4 of a tank, the generator is going to turn off. That's by design. The generator will only use the top 3/4 of the fuel tank. Once it gets to the lower 1/4, it shuts off. I covered all this in great detail in my 3-part series on how to take care of a generator. So if you want to know more about how a generator works and takes care of it and all that, you can watch that series. It'll tell you just about everything you need to know. One last thing about electrical. As a precaution, for me, this is what I do. I go outside to where my EMS plugs into the electrical pedestal. If I'm running off of regular campground electricity and I've got that cord in there, I wrap that in saran wrap, and then I wrap it in a towel, and then I wrap that towel in more plastic. And the reason I do that is in cold temperatures, I don't know whether we're going to have a blackout or not. I don't know whether I'm going to have to be going to my generator. But if that thing's plugged in, I do not want it to be getting snow and ice and rain and turning into ice and freezing all around that area and possibly ruining my EMS. So as a precaution, that's something that I do for a little added insurance to protect my EMS. Some of you may have a surge protector. Whatever you're using, I highly recommend an EMS. Everybody knows that. But whatever you have connected there, protect it with some plastic. Keep the ice and snow and rain off of it. So let's cover some extra things you can do on the outside of the RV. If you have a gas motorhome like we do, take a piece of big, black, thick plastic. This is that really thick stuff you get like at Home Depot or whatever. It's like, I don't know, 6-7 mil. It's really thick. And I rolled off about 8-9 feet of it. I opened up the hood of the motorhome, and where the latches are on the hood, where the hood snaps down on those latches, I put a little hole in there with my thumb, and I hooked it over those 2 latches, and then I draped that plastic over that front grill area, and then I wound up the bottom with it with a 2x4 to keep it kind of taut. I left a little play in there, but that keeps the draft, that cold wind blowing through the grill, through the firewall in the front behind the engine bay, and then it brings draft into the front of the coach. This is a really cheap, easy way to keep that wind from blowing into the front of the coach. If you're in a campground, you've made reservations, and right in the middle of all this, your reservations are up and you have to move. And the last 3 or 4 days or whatever, you've got snow up there, you've got ice, it's been raining, and that's all frozen up there on top of your slide toppers. This is not a good idea to bring those slides in with all those toppers frozen solid. I mean, it'd be a great way to crack and tear that up. It's best to get all that off of there before you pull your slides in. This event's going for several days. It's going to be windy and very, very bitter cold. The best choice would be to bring the slides in. And that way you not only don't get all that accumulated snow and ice and all that stuff on top of your slides, but now that your slides are in, the coach is much smaller and very easy to heat. You'll use a lot less heat, a lot less energy. That is probably the best thing to do in a real bad cold event. Your main awning over your patio and any window awnings that you have over the side of your coach or RV, those should have already been drawn up and stored away anyway. Those should not be out. On your entry door, we had a phone call with a friend this morning. They're not far from us here. But it rained last night and it got down to 24 degrees. And they're not under a protective cover like we are. They are out in a typical outdoor campground site, and it rained and all that water ran down all inside and around their door, and then it froze. And when they got up this morning, they couldn't open up their door from the inside. They literally had to kick the door open to break the ice to get the door open. So one thing you can do there is take regular alcohol and you pour it on a rag and liberally put it up all around the door jamb of your door and all of the latches, all those areas, the hinges, everything. Just wipe and saturate that whole area with alcohol, then close the door for the evening. That may help that ice from freezing around those areas and locking that door in place. And this is another biggie, another thing you can do to the outside of your coach. If you do not have step covers on your steps, you know when you buy these things, when you buy these RVs, they're metal steps. I have always advocated getting carpet step covers for many, many reasons. But if you don't have them now on those steps in these cold weather, you know what happened, right? Just like that door, it rains, it sleets, it snows, and then in the morning, those steps are going to be covered in ice. And it would be so easy for you to walk out that door and hit those metal steps, and that's just an accident waiting to happen. So we have carpet covers on our steps, and I highly recommend you do too, for the whole entire year. But they're really a big safety thing when it's snowing and icing like it is now. Don't forget, guys, if you like this kind of stuff, fixing stuff, maintaining stuff, DIY stuff, our whole channel is all about DIY maintenance, because you guys can do this stuff. You can do 90% of this stuff to maintain your rig, prepare your rig, and get through these type of things that we're going through right now. But it takes the know-how, the tools, and the planning, and just getting it done. And that's what our channel shows you. It shows you step by step how to do all these things. I highly recommend you go to this playlist right up here and click playlist, and I have got a ton of videos there that goes through a whole host of different subjects. I know it'll be a great help to you. Doing this stuff yourself is going to not only get you really in tune with your coach, and you're going to know your coach, but you're not going to have to call a mobile tech out to help you at $125 an hour, or take it to a dealer, let it sit there for weeks until they decide to get around to it. That's my goal, is to help and show you how you can do this stuff yourself. Also, if you're interested, I'll put a link to our Amazon store down below in the description text, like I do on every video. Everything in our Amazon store I have hand-picked to get the best stuff, the stuff that you really need, maintenance items, tools, all the stuff that we discussed in this video, and everything that I've discussed in the other videos. But even if there's stuff that you need that isn't in our store, by clicking our link and going to our store and shopping with our store is a great way to say thank you, Martin, for making these videos and helping the RV community. And we really do appreciate when you use our Amazon store. So that's it, guys. Between the video that I did 6 weeks ago and this little update piece, these two combined should give you just about everything you need to know to get through these kind of events. And please go get your manuals and read them and get to know your RV if you haven't done that already. It is so important to know all the details of how your coach works, so that when these kind of things happen, you know exactly what to do. You're not pushing the panic button and hoping that the sky doesn't fall in on you. So that's it for now, and I hope that these tips will help you get your coach Martinized. So until next time, this is RV Street. Stick around.